guys, this is round 6 today, the day after the rest day, and I'm excited. I'm excited for this game. We are facing Germany, not France, Germany, and I am playing again. We have our suits on. These are provided by the Dutch Federation, so I'm excited. Wish us luck. I hope for the best, and let's hope that we can bring back some good news again. Alright guys, so I just got back from my game. I changed clothes because it was a little bit unpleasant wearing this suit all the time. But yeah, I just got back from the game. It was a crazy game, guys, and I just can't wait to show you. So let's just jump right into what happened, because E4 happened and E6. So this was all preparation, of course. So a little bit of background, actually, info. So the day before yesterday basically was a rest day, and we spent the rest day preparing and also deciding who was going to play. And quickly it was determined that I was going to play on board 4, and yeah, so my potential opponents were either their board 4 or board 5. So yeah, Germany's a very strong team, so both players are super strong, and luckily for me, both players had very similar repertoire. So both played E4 most of the times, and they also played the same lines against the French. So preparing is pretty easy. And I actually expected their board 4 to play, so we mostly prepared against board 4. But then, as the pairings were published yesterday, apparently board 5 was playing. So yeah, that was a little bit of a surprise, but it didn't matter as much. But I do have to note that the preparation was mainly focused on the board 4 player. And we sort of thought, okay, so the board 5 player plays similar openings, but I'll show you. So this is what happened. The advanced variation, this was what was expected. And after queen b6, knight f3, bishop d7, this was not played, at least not in the database of my opponent. So she did not face this in any of the games in the database online. So yeah, we didn't not really have much to go with, and we just assumed that, okay, so the prep we had for our for their board 4 is the prep we will use as well for this opponent. So yeah, so she played a move bishop e2 here. We mainly focus on bishop d3 because I believe that is what their board 4 player mainly played, but yeah, then she played bishop e2, and we did quickly look into that a little bit. So the idea is that I was going to play c takes d4. So in all my games online, bishop b5 was played by me, and captain told me that don't do that anymore. I still may do that, like in my games at some point outside of the tournament or something, but the thing is that this leads to some forced line, which is not so good apparently. So my coach, the captain, told me, let's play something different. So we prepared this c takes d4, c takes d4, which does allow an early knight c3 development, but we're okay with that because with bishop b5 lines, there are some c4 moves. I think specifically here there is some d takes c5 ideas, and in order to avoid this, we want to take on d4 ourselves, and after bishop b5, we are just trading off the light squared bishop that we usually get stuck with in the French. So knight takes e2. This was a big surprise to me. So we checked many lines with the structure, but the pieces were differently placed than they are here. So I was very used of seeing the queen on d3 and the knight on c3, but seeing this was a big surprise to me for some reason. So apparently it's one of the main moves, but simply because we did not look super much into bishop e2, so my file just says bishop takes, queen takes, etc. So after knight c3, I was a little bit confused, but I thought, okay, like there cannot be anything wrong with this, what we're doing here. So knight takes e2 and knight c6, so short castle. As it turns out, By the way, let me turn on the evaluation so that you guys can see what's going on. But yeah, here white is slightly better. And that's actually not really nice because we were aiming for, you know, an equal position. But yeah, basically, as it turns out, knight c6 was not the most precise move. I had to start with knight e7. But okay, not a big difference, but essentially... yeah, maybe you're trying to put this knight on c6 and then this knight on d7, change it up a little bit. It's not very clear how I'm supposed to put my pieces in this very position, because as you'll see in the game, things went a little bit wrong. So knight c6 was played by me, short castle, and here I played knight e7. Rook b1, and this was very surprising to me. I thought rook b1, the only times I see any sort of b4 happen is when there's a pawn on a3 already. So she is preparing to move b4, and I am fully aware that after knight g6, b4, I can't take this pawn, because if I do with either with the bishop or the knight, then there's a3 and my bishop is pinned and I lose a piece. So I was fully aware that b4 is incoming, and I didn't really know if I should try to stop it or not, but I thought that if I play a5, it felt like I was weakening a lot of squares on the queen side, and I thought that, well, it's not the end of the world to allow b4, especially because the knight is usually on c3, going to a4, so now that it's not on c3, I thought it should be fine. So knight g6, b4, and here I just developed rook c8. So, yeah, you can see from the engine, I'm still worse, and I'm not really doing much wrong, but it's really hard to do something useful here. So she played h4, and I was like, man, this is getting really annoying. So she's attacking on both sides of the board, and there's not much I can do. I'm still in the center with my king, which is completely fine in the French most of the times. It's just that I'm starting to realize that I don't know where to put my pieces anymore, because bishop e7 now allows h5, and I'm not entirely sure what is going on there. So yeah, I played queen d8. Queen d8 with the idea that my queen is not doing anything on the queen side anymore, so I'm simply shifting my attention to the king side. However, my opponent does not play the move h5, she plays g3. And I was like, huh, okay, interesting, because I thought that I'm attacking two pawns, so this pawn h4 was hanging, and the pawn on b4. So now that she defended one of them, I really expected her to play h5 for this reason that she's attacking the knight, but also, you know, giving this pawn some time to be defended on the next move. But instead of doing that, she played g3, and I was like, free pawn? We take free pawn, because I don't see any immediate attack, how to punish me for this, and I want to develop the bishop anyway, so why not take the pawn with the bishop? So h5 was played, and here I spent some time on knight f8. By the way, look at the clocks. What was really intimidating to me was that she was not spending time whatsoever. We're on move 15, and she has only spent 15 minutes, and I'm here down to an hour on the clock. So this was really frustrating to me as well. So she played h5, and I went knight f8 after all. So here I was deciding between knight e7 or knight f8, and I decided to play knight f8 because after knight e7, I felt like I was a little bit stuck with my pieces. And the thing is that I calculate some lines with h6, and then in case I have to play either g6 or I take on h6, I wanted to have control of the square f6 at some point, and I thought that knight j8 would be super awkward, so I wanted to put my knight instead on d7. So that's why I played the move knight f8, and this also gives me room to play queen e7 or bishop e7 if necessary, so I wanted to keep this square e7 available for my other pieces as well. So she played h6, and here I was like, for the longest time, I thought I had to take that pawn on h6, but what I started to realize is that my position is so awful here. So I really didn't like this whatsoever, and I thought that this is big trouble. So in the end, I didn't go for this because it just looks awful. And yeah, she can't do anything. This is her playground, and any sort of a3 is incoming, queen a4, and she's attacking on both sides of the board. My square f6 is super weak over here, so yeah, this knight is incoming, also on f6, so that's why I thought that, okay, perhaps I should not allow any sort of knight h5, so I went g6, which is, by the way, also weakening my dark squares a lot, but I thought, well, at least I'm holding on for a little longer, you know? So she played queen a4, and I was super happy here because I thought queen a5. I am offering the trade of queens. I did not think she was going to take this because, well, if you take, which she did, rook takes b7, and I thought I am trapping your rook. Your rook is done for. I'm going to win this game because next I'm playing knight d8 or knight a5 and GG next. But what I realized when she took on b7, which she also, by the way, did pretty quickly because in the meantime she's only spent 10 minutes in the last few moves. So what I realized is that after bishop b6, there is bishop a3, and also, by the way, bishop g5 apparently, but in the game I saw bishop a3, and the idea is that if you move your knights to d8, you're checkmated, and if you move to a5, you get a check, and you just lose a game badly. So then I was like, okay, that's fine, I have knight d7, I'm blocking the rook. And then after a long thought, so in the middle of my calculations, I was spending lots of time, what is going on? Rook c1. And my knight is pinned. And I have nothing that I can possibly do here. My pieces are as stuck as it can be. And I have no king move. I mean, king d8 is just tragic, allowing knight g5. And knight takes f7 will happen one way or the other. And it's just a disaster of a position. So having to realize this, when she played rook takes b7, I was devastated because this was the whole idea. And now I have a rook on the 7th rank, and I also have very weak dark squares. So you can imagine how I started to feel. So I played bishop b4. After a long thought, so here I spent around 20 minutes, I played the move bishop b4 because I thought at any cost I have to stop this bishop from going to a3. At any cost I need to try to castle, and by putting my bishop on b4, at least I'm trying to do that, because after bishop g5, knight e7, I'm slowly getting there. So knight b6, and my next move is basically short castle. So it's actually crazy to see that white is +3 here. +3! In an sort of endgame with lots of pieces still on the board, lots of minor pieces, but it doesn't feel like it's so bad. You know, there's a rook on the 7th rank, but it's not really doing much, but I'm still worse so much, and that is solely because of those dark squares. I can guarantee you, if I had a pawn on g7 and this pawn was just on h4, my position would be more than fine. But because of this situation, I'm just very much worse. So bishop f6 was played, and here I was a little bit relieved, so I could castle, you know. I'm not sure if my opponent expected this because, okay, a castle in such a situation is quite unexpected. It's on move 22. For some reason, I always castle late. I don't know why. But yeah, I was happy that I could at least play short castle. She played knight g5, and here I was like, hold on. Hold on there. Hold on. So my first reaction is knight takes d4. Bam! You know, I would give that a brilliant icon. Let me give you that right here. Like, I thought this is amazing. So the idea is that after rook takes c8, knight takes e2 as a check. So king moves to f1, for example. I can consider playing knight takes g3, but let's say I just take the rook first. Let's just do that. So king takes e2, you would say. But instead of taking that knight, white has the rook takes f7, and guess who's getting checkmated now? Me. Because rook takes h7 and rook h8 and it's over. Or just any other sort of sequence. There's rook g7, like anything wins there. So I was devastated. I mean, of course I quickly realized this, but I was so sad that this knight takes d4 move turns out to be a huge blunder. So, of course I didn't play it. But I could not believe my eyes. I thought this must be good. There must be something in the position, but there was nothing. So I played bishop d2. So at least I was relieved that, okay, so at least I can get rid of that knight. If anything, this knight is a pain. And once I get rid of that knight, there are suddenly less attackers in the position. So I was really happy that I got this far. And now this knight has to travel a long time to get to f6 because that is the only square where it can really do something and bother me. It has to take a long route. So I knew that, okay, now that that one knight is gone, the other knight is not going to do much damage. If it leaves also, my knight is attacking d4, and once d4 is gone, it gets really shaky. So I played with knight c4, and here I started to get into some time trouble. Like, I'm getting really nervous. She is up 30 plus minutes, so you can guess what the situation is, right? So king g2, and here, another situation. So my instinct is that I want to play rook b8. I want to try to hunt that rook down and trade and everything. But then, before I made the move rook b8, before I was moving, I realized, wait a second. There is something happening along this file. I see some tactics. So what I'm realizing, rook a5, knight 6 a5, sorry. So I'm attacking the rook. Rook takes a7. And knight e3 check. And I thought, oh my god, I'm winning the exchange. Because after rook takes a5, I take this knight. And I'm just winning the exchange. I am up material. But how on earth are you winning this with black? There is absolutely no way. In fact, maybe you should be happy with a draw in this position because my rook on f8 can never leave the 8th rank. As soon as the rook gets to the 2nd rank over here, I get checkmated. And if my king starts to leave this g8 squared, then I get hit by this bishop, and it's just not going to happen. This rook is also going to the 7th rank. This is just not happening. And I thought, what? How is it possible that this tactic is also not any good? So, yeah, I was really devastated. I was really devastated that another tactic that I saw is not possible. So, I played the move rook b8 after all. She played rook d7. And as you can see, I'm down to 3 minutes. We're on round move 27, so it's not the end of the world, but I was pretty frustrated at the fact that I just can't win this game. So here I played rook c8. After playing rook c8, I did think maybe I should have played knight b4. Apparently that's not good at all. It's actually crazy to see that that's not good at all. But after rook c3, apparently there's knight takes a2 and then rook f3. I did see that this was possible, but I didn't really think much about it. I mean, I had 3 minutes on the clock and I just played practically. And I didn't want to complicate things further, but, you know, after this, there are bishop g7 ideas coming in. It's really dangerous. And with this rook in the 7th rank, you should be cautious at all times. So I just wanted to get rid of this rook as much as possible. So I played rook c8, and after rook c3, I already saw, like, 1 or 2 moves ago that there is some sort of repetition possible. So I played with knight b6, and she also went with the repetition. And then after a few moves, this was the situation, this was the position that I claimed the draw, because this was 3-fold repetition. So this was not actually played on the board. Like, the process of claiming a draw in a classical game is that you write down your move on the score sheet, you pause the clock, and then you call an arbiter saying, I'm claiming the draw as it's a 3-fold repetition after this move. So yeah, it's 3 times the same position, and my opponent quickly agreed to the draw because she also knows what she's going for. She did spend quite some time, so as you can see, she spent around 8 minutes on this move, and it had a lot to do with the fact that she was looking around what her teammates were doing, and our board 2 at that moment lost. So quickly after we lost our board 2 game, she made her move and basically agreed to the fact that it's going to be a draw. She could have tried to complicate things further by, I don't know, like sacrificing the exchange and play on still, but I was confident that this can't be good. It doesn't feel right. Maybe it's playable for white, but I mean, I have a passed pawn, so at least there's that, you know? So all in all, this is how the game ended, and I was pretty frustrated because, of course, I know that my board 2 teammate lost, so this was didn't really feel nice. I really wanted to go for a win, and I thought that I was doing great. Well, okay, in opening it was a little shaky, but I thought in the end game it started to come back and it started to get much better for me. but I just couldn't make it happen. I couldn't really do much better than this. So all in all, I'm happy with the draw after all, especially seeing that I was not able to win or I did not have any advantage throughout the game. But yeah, as of now, I mean, I've been recording this recap for almost 20 minutes now, so I'm not sure what my team is doing, but when I was doing the recap, when I started, it was 1.5, 1.5. So it's all now on Machtel to make a draw in the Rook Endgame. It's pretty tricky, but I believe in her. So that game is still really important, and a 2-2 would be amazing against Germany because Germany is super strong. And yeah, during the game, I was looking around me. I was like, wait, it didn't quite hit me at first, but I think we are, like our opponents are a bit stronger, like much stronger than us. So yeah, anyways, that's the game. This was round 6. I'm super happy that I managed to make a draw also against the higher rated, so I definitely can't complain. But yeah, hopefully better in the next match. I mean, this result is great. I just really wanted to have more. Like, we prepared so much in the opening, and then to see it fail in this way was a little bit devastating, but it's a great experience, a learning lesson, and now we're going to look back at this line and see what I could have done better, or maybe play something else altogether. I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to switch from the French. No. I don't know if you were thinking about that, but anyways, thank you so much for watching today's recap. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!